Era by era, what if baseball was more than just America's favorite pastime? Join us as we take a wild ride through MLB's craziest moments and most explosive eras, from dusty sandlots to million-dollar megastars. The dead ball era, with rules now more consistent and professional teams vying for attention, baseball entered the early 20th century with a problem. The physical baseball was a dud. This was the infamous dead ball era, spanning roughly from 1900 to 1919. During this time, the actual balls used in games were of poor quality, soft, stitched loosely, and simply not designed for fireworks. A single ball would often stay in play for 100 pitches or more. By the later innings, the ball would be torn, lumpy, and soaked in whatever grass, mud, or mystery liquids the diamond could offer. Making matters worse, pitchers were allowed, encouraged, even to mangle the ball before pitches. Scuffing, spitting, rubbing with tobacco juice, and more meant the ball would move unpredictably. Batters were lucky to get solid contact, let alone a home run. Statistically, the dead ball era marked a low point for offenses. The league batting average slipped to just 239, while runs per game averaged a puny 3.4. Home runs were so rare that a single long ball in a game could make national news. Fans watched managers strategize meticulously. Every walk, bunt, and stolen base mattered like never before. But out of these gritty, low-scoring contests, legends emerged. Ty Cobb was a demon on the base paths for the Detroit Tigers, setting a career batting average of 366, an astronomical figure even by modern standards. Cobb's base stealing was legendary. 897 times he swiped a bag using speed and cunning to torment opposing pitchers. Another all-time great, Honus Wagner, racked over 3,400 career hits while playing vicious defense at shortstop. Chief Wilson made waves by smacking an untouchable 36 triples in 1912, a record that stands to this day and might never be broken. Yet this was a pitcher's age, through and through. Cy Young won an astonishing 511 games, a record that no pitcher will likely ever touch. Over his 22-year career, Young pitched a mind-boggling 7,356 innings with a lifetime ERA of just 2.63. Walter Johnson, his perennial rival, notched 417 wins and was every bit as menacing on the mound. It's no wonder MLB named its top annual pitching award after Cy Young in 1956. The dead ball era forced teams to value speed, bunting, and guile over brute force. Every game played out almost like a chess match, a test of strategic wit as much as athletic skill. The live ball era. Something electric happened in 1920, and baseball has never looked back. The live ball era was triggered by two simple but revolutionary rule changes. Pitchers could no longer doctor the ball, and umpires swapped in new ones at the first sign of damage. These fresh, tightly wound balls rocketed off bats, and suddenly it was hitters, not pitchers, who set the tone. Home runs went from rare birds to daily thrills. Offenses exploded. The old move 'em over, move 'em in style was cast aside for an era obsessed with big swings and bigger crowds. Leading the charge was the first modern sports superstar, Babe Ruth. After the Boston Red Sox sent him to the Yankees, Ruth became the face of power hitting. In 1920, Ruth smacked 54 home runs, nearly tripling the next best hitter, George Sisler. Ruth's feats made headlines everywhere. His slugging percentage soared to an unreal .689, and over his career he amassed 714 home runs and a single-season record of 60. Both stood for decades. Ruth wasn't only a hitter, he was a symbol, a personality. His charisma, huge appetite for the limelight and hot dogs, and talent galvanized fans and turned the Yankees into the game's early dynasty. New York's pinstripes became a symbol of baseball excellence and the sport's explosive growth in popularity. It wasn't just the Babe either. Joe DiMaggio dazzled with a 56-game hitting streak, a record almost universally acknowledged as unbreakable. Lou Gehrig, Ruth's teammate, was another icon, remembered not just for his fearsome bat, but for his rock-solid reliability, hence the Iron Horse. Attendance soared. Radio broadcasts began reaching new audiences, making baseball a fixture of American life. Kids from every neighborhood dreamed of going yard like the Babe, turning the home run to the sport's ultimate currency. The integration era. While baseball thrilled fans in the stands, it was slower to embrace basic fairness. For decades, black players and many gifted Latin Americans were denied a shot at the big league stage. This changed in the years around World War II. Despite rumors of integration as far back as 1943, when Negro League superstars like Josh Gibson and Charlie Grant drew MLB scouts, progress was stifled by Commissioner Kennesaw Mountain Landis, who leaned hard into keeping baseball segregated. The wall began to crumble thanks to Branch Rickey, the Brooklyn Dodgers general manager. Rickey's plan required not just skill, but a man of rare character, someone who could endure hostility from fans, other players, and even teammates. Jackie Robinson was that man. Signed in 1946 to the Dodgers minor league club, Robinson finally broke MLB's color barrier on April 15, 1947, suiting up for the Dodgers in a moment that echoed far beyond sports. Robinson's courage and talent opened the door for a flood of black and Latin American players who were just waiting for their chance. Larry Doby followed in the American League. Satchel Paige, a legend from the Negro Leagues, joined the Cleveland Indians, finally showing his magical pitching to big league hitters. Roy Campanella, a powerful catcher, cemented himself as a Hall of Famer for the Dodgers. Integration was anything but smooth. Robinson endured jeers, slurs, and death threats, but responded with class and unrivaled performance. His presence forced baseball and America to rethink its prejudices. As teams saw the caliber of talent available, more and more players of color were signed. Latin American stars like Manny Minoso, Roberto Clemente, Luis Aparicio blazed new trails, giving the game a new cultural vibrancy. By the late 50s and 60s, rosters were filled with international talent. The MLB grew richer in skill, creativity, and heart. Baseball finally looked more like America, diverse, multicultural, and ever-evolving. The expansion era. By the 1950s, baseball's popularity demanded more teams and a broader geographic spread. For decades, all 16 major league teams had clustered in just 11 cities, mostly in the Northeast and Midwest. Fans in the South, West, and new urban centers had to settle for minor league games or radio broadcasts. That all changed in the 1950s and 60s. Visionary owners and a changing America brought big league ball coast to coast. The Dodgers shocked Brooklyn by moving to Los Angeles in '58, while the Giants shifted to San Francisco. By the early 60s, this sparked a wave of fresh franchises. The LA Angels, 1961, Houston Colt 45s, now the Astros, and the New York Mets, 1962, joined the fold. This wasn't just about relocation, but expansion, coming up with new teams from scratch. The 1969 season saw the American League add the Kansas City Royals and Seattle Pilots, who would become the Milwaukee Brewers, while the National League welcomed the Montreal Expos, MLB's first international team, and San Diego Padres. By 1977, even more clubs entered, like the Toronto Blue Jays and Seattle Mariners. Now baseball was truly national. 16 American cities and 2 in Canada featured big league teams. Each expansion created new, passionate fan bases and stroked fierce new rivalries. The postseason soon expanded too, making the path to the World Series more thrilling than ever. The pitching era. Amid all this new growth, the game itself kept shifting. Starting in 1963, MLB altered the strike zone, now stretching from the batter's shoulders to the bottom of the knees. Pitching dominance returned with a vengeance. The result? Some of the greatest and stingiest pitcher performances in history. Batting averages nosedived, culminating in the 1968 year of the pitcher. Batters could only muster a .237 league average. Run totals dwindled, and games sometimes felt like shutouts waiting to happen. Elite aces flourished. Sandy Koufax, pitching for the Dodgers, tossed 4 no-hitters, a perfect game, and captured a 1.93 ERA across a dominant 1963 season. Meanwhile, Bob Gibson put together one of the most jaw-dropping stretches by a pitcher ever, posting a 1.12 ERA in 1968 and 17 strikeouts in one World Series game. Pitchers like Juan Marichal, Tom Seaver, and Denny McLain, who won an insane 31 games in 1968, became household names. All this lopsided dominance spooked league officials. Was another dead ball era on the horizon? The solution came in 1969 when MLB lowered the mound from 15 inches to 10, giving hitters a better chance. They weren't done tweaking. By 1973, the American League added the designated hitter, allowing teams to put a full-time hitter in place of the pitcher. These changes restored balance. Hitters started to shine again, offense rebounded, and fans everywhere got a more exciting, action-packed game. The free agent era. The 1970s and 80s ushered in another earthquake, the dawn of free agency. For nearly a century, the reserve clause allowed teams to control players' rights indefinitely. Players had no choices. But in 1975, a challenge by pitchers Andy Messersmith and Dave McNally changed everything. The courts ruled that once a contract expired, a player was free to sign elsewhere. Immediately, the financial landscape exploded. Nolan Ryan became the league's first $1 million man in 1979, sealing a 4-year, $4.5 million deal with the Houston Astros. Other greats quickly followed, with Dave Winfield scoring a 10-year contract at $2.5 million per year. The era of blockbuster deals was on. Soon, every offseason was filled with rumors, signings, and stars shifting allegiances. Free agency reshaped the game, encouraging teams to spend big for proven talent and making player contracts a news story as big as the game themselves. Over the years, the effect only snowballed. Iconic stars like Alex Rodriguez and Alex Pujols signed rich long-term contracts. Flash forward to today, and deals have hit astronomical heights. Shohei Ohtani signs for $700 million with the Dodgers, and Juan Soto inks $765 million with the Mets. The best new players now command generational wealth. Free agency also introduced new complexities, salary caps, luxury taxes, and the race for the next big signing. But at the core, it empowered players to choose their own destiny and gave franchises fresh ways to build super teams. The steroid era. By the 1990s, baseball was about to enter arguably its most dramatic and controversial stretch ever, the steroid era. Suddenly, sluggers who seemed merely good were launching balls at stratospheric distances, and records that seemed untouchable fell like dominoes. The 1998 home run race captured the nation's imagination. Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa, friendly rivals, each chased the single-season home run record. Stadiums were packed, news reports counted every blast, and McGwire ended with a then-record 70, just ahead of Sosa's 66. The excitement didn't end there. Barry Bonds eventually obliterated the record with 73 dingers in 2001, even as he reached an age when most players were slowing down. At 37, Bonds led the league in on-base percentage, slugging and WAR, showing off both power and plate discipline. But suspicions mounted, and soon evidence of widespread performance-enhancing drug use surfaced. MLB, pressured by public outcry, instituted mandatory random drug testing in 2004. The fallout was immediate. 11 players suspended by 2005, with more to come. In 2007, the landmark Mitchell Report exploded onto the scene, naming 89 players, including stars like Bonds, Roger Clemens, and more, who were linked to steroids and other PEDs. Even beloved icons like A-Rod, Mark McGwire ultimately admitted to using banned substances. Others, like Sammy Sosa, dodged but didn't deny. The steroid era gave us the most exhilarating offense in history, but at the cost of the sport's innocence and credibility. The game's greatest records are now debated, not just for their athleticism, but for their legitimacy. The analytics era. Baseball used to be about gut instinct, intangible feel, and stories passed from bench coach to player. But the 21st century ushered in the age of analytics, forever changing how teams discovered talent and played the game. It began with the Oakland Athletics' radical Moneyball approach. Find players who were undervalued by traditional stats, but excelled by deeper, less appreciated measures like on-base percentage and situational hitting. Manager Billy Beane's A's teams made the playoffs repeatedly despite tiny payrolls, and other teams took notice. Within a decade, every front office had become a hive of algorithms, PhDs, and high-speed computers. The search for market inefficiencies led to smarter trades, shrewder drafts, and a willingness to challenge baseball's unwritten rules. On the field, the game itself was transformed. Pitchers found new ways to maximize velocity, with relievers often brought in for single matchups, resulting in less time for starters and more strikeouts per game. Pitching staffs became so specialized that entire careers could be built on the devastating slider or a 99-mile-per-hour fastball. Offensively, hitters began optimizing their launch angles to send balls soaring out of ballparks with laser precision. Slugging percentage and home runs took off as everyone from bench bats to superstars tried to go yard. StatCast technology, which tracks exit velocity, spin rates, and even player positioning, became central to analysis. Defensively, the infield shift became the league's best-kept secret, and then its most notorious tactic. Teams stacked three infielders on the same side against pull-heavy sluggers, cutting down hits dramatically. League batting averages took a beating, dropping to 243 in 2022, the fifth lowest ever. Analytical innovation was everywhere. Teams scrutinized every pitch sequence, defensive alignment, and defensive substitution. While some fans missed the small ball and eye test decisions of old, baseball's chessboard never looked more sophisticated. The modern era. Now we reach baseball as it is today. A global game shaped by unprecedented talent, fresh faces, and willingness to break from tradition. International stars have become household names. Shohei Ohtani, straight from Japan's Nippon Professional Baseball, is often called the sport's most unique talent since Babe Ruth, the only player in the modern era to pitch and hit at a superstar level. Ohtani shattered records on both sides as a hitter and as a pitcher. With a 50-50 season and now the top all-time home run scorer among Japanese-born players in MLB history, Ohtani's the face of a connected world. Alongside him, Ronald Acuna Jr. and Juan Soto, both hailing from Latin America, have lit up the league and inspired a new generation of athletes. Contracts for international stars are now often the largest in the sport for a reason. Their talent, charisma, and global appeal are propelling baseball to new heights. With the world watching, MLB is also making huge changes to keep up with the modern demands. In 2023, the game introduced the pitch clock, keeping games moving with 30-second limit between batters and 15 to 20 seconds between pitches, depending on base runner presence. Limits on pickoff moves, Only 2 disengagements permitted per batter, creating more stolen base excitement and increasing action on the base pass. The ban on infield shifts. Teams must now play more traditional defense, giving hitters a better crack at getting on base. Bigger bases, expanded from 15 to 18 inches square, increasing safety and making it slightly easier for runners to swipe a bag. All these changes aim for one thing: speed, excitement, and keeping fans glued to every pitch. The data suggests they're working, as pace of play and stolen base attempts have jumped, while batting averages stabilize at levels not seen since before the shift became widespread. The modern era symbolizes baseball's total evolution, a sport with deep roots and global branches, thrilling fans across continents and eager to adapt for whatever's next. From sandlot chaos to mathematical precision, exclusion to inclusion, the glories of Ruth and Robinson to the brilliance of Ohtani and Acuna, MLB history is a wild story of change, risk, scandal, and genius. Baseball is more than just numbers and stats. It's a mirror of America's growth, struggles, and boundless dreams. Every era, dead ball, live ball integration, expansion, pitchers, free agents, steroids, analytics, modern, gave us new legends and new lessons. There's never been a dull decade in MLB's history, and the future looks brighter, faster, and even more exciting. Which era would you want to play in? Which all-time legend would you want to face? Drop your thoughts and your favorite MLB era in the comments. Love this trip through baseball's wildest eras? Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and ring the bell for more epic MLB stories. Don't forget to share your favorite moment below. Let's celebrate the ultimate game together.